or lick anything, or drink anything. They don't discriminate. I'll pull turtle shells out of cows' mouths, all soda cans, all kinds of stuff. All right, so they just don't kind of care. Okay. So it happens more commonly in ruminants, more commonly in cattle, and most cattle is younger cattle if you have that problem with it. How they get it by licking paint or lead-based paint on the buildings. They get it by old machine parts that are left out and drinking or licking the parts, the crankcase oil and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is heavy in lead. Okay. And that's how they pick it up. Those acute cases, that's what they come from. Usually characterized by an acute severe encephalopathy. In really acute cases, by severe gastroenteritis. Now, the story is, initially, these things will start out with very serious gastroenteritis, known as that encephalopathy, and then the gut starts to shut down. Okay, but acutely, initially, you have severe gastroenteritis along with that encephalopathy. All right. More common in the summer months. Crankcase oil, machine grease, lead-based paint, batteries, all those kinds of things are heavy in oil, and they're heavy in lead. And those are things that are around the farm. Okay, now, for chronic cases of lead poisoning, that's more common in sheep and equines. Okay. So cattle, more acute. Sheep and equines, chronic. Across the board, it causes degeneration in the peripheral nerves, leading to that lead encephalopathy. Lead content can be evaluated in the blood and in the tissues. These animals show ataxia, clamping of the jaws, blindness, cervical and auricular twitching. They show some frothing, going on to depression, severe depression. That's for acute. Sheep and goats, and more, not sheep and goats, equine. And sheep get it by way of chronic, and that's by grazing on pastures that are contaminated by lead. Okay. Horses are not just going to go up and start chewing on batteries and licking on lead paint and all that kind of stuff. Or plenty of them will lick on cars or chew on car paint. They're going to get it by, like I said, grazing on contaminated pastures. With horses, it causes weight loss, incoordination, laryngeal and pharyngeal paralysis. Right? Especially affecting the left recurrent pharyngeal nerve. Now, if you got pharyngeal and laryngeal problems, then you got problems with swallowing. If you got problems with swallowing, it sets you up for aspiration pneumonia. In horses, it's a chronic disease. So, loss of weight and condition, like I said, incoordination, laryngeal, pharyngeal problems. They show extreme dullness and depression or heat. Menace reflex is shot, but they appear to be blind, but their pupillary light reflexes are normal. we can confirm this by finding abnormal or lead, period, in blood and in tissues. On necropsy, we're going to see brain edema, cerebral cortex edema, and congestion. Now, the reason why that's important is because some of the books or some of the references will put lead poisoning, salt poisoning, polioencephalation all together. Okay? Why? Because they all show cerebral cortical disease. It just comes about differently. But they'll group the three of them together. And they're going to share signs. You know, especially when you start talking about little things. All right, treatment. Treatment is going to be calcium EDTA and thiamine. All right, thiamine is going to enhance renal excretion. Also add to that is magnesium sulfate, which will bind lead in the gut. Calcium EDTA is keeping it out of the tissues. Okay. So the treatment is going to be calcium EDTA and thiamine. Yeah.
You said calcium EDTA will pull the lead from the tissues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some tests, if you got a test and it says what's the treatment for lead poisoning, and you have a choice of lead by itself, calcium EDTA by itself, and thiamine by itself, and something else by itself, the calcium EDTA is going to probably be the most important. The best treatment is going to be calcium EDTA and thiamine. Right? Magnesium sulfate is also thrown in there. Sometimes that's going to be the best regimen, but on a number of tests, sometimes they'll just have one. Yeah. Okay, blue line that ruminants don't get, blue line that dogs get, and all that kind of thing, is an interaction between lead, chemical interaction between lead and tartar in the teeth, which is why they get that blue line. All right, ruminants don't get it, equines don't get it. Okay. Salt poisoning, you guys had kind of ad nauseum. We talked about thromboembolic encephalitis earlier, right? Did I skip over that? With that? Yes, no? Kind of, sort of? Okay. All right. Thromboembolic meningoencephalitis, TEAM, caused by Histopheles somni, an important feedlot type disease. Now, differing from all these others, this is caused by a bacteria, like Listeria. The only reasons why they're in there, even though they're infectious, is because clinical signs can resemble other neurologic diseases, so it's really mixed to kind of be complete. All right. Thromboembolic meningoencephalitis. Obviously, you got thrombi circulating through the system. Depending upon what organ system they lodge in, that's where you have the problem. So you can have multiple problems or multiple systems affected when you have this disease. In cattle, they can cause neurologic signs. It can cause septicemia. It can cause abortion. It can cause joint problems. It can cause pneumonia. It can cause all of these things. Why? Because like I said, thrombi are circulating in the system. Wherever they lodge, that's where they cause the problem. Neurologic signs are usually seen after seeing your respiratory expression, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so you can have cattle in the feedlot, calves in the feedlot, all right, and you look out there in the pen and you have animals that are showing respiratory signs, some that are showing neurologic signs, some that are showing problems with their joints. It's all the same disease. Which is why when you start talking about animals going to feedlots and stuff like that, that this is one of the things they vaccinate for. All right? It's one of the, like I said, one of the top feedlot type diseases. Okay. Once they show neurologic signs, they usually die pretty fast. Within about 36 hours. All right. Clinical signs, ones we need to keep in mind: fever, anorexia, depression, and ataxia don't mean a whole lot. Proprioceptive deficits, head tilt, nystagmus, opisthotonus, blindness, and muscle tremors. All right, could look a lot like polioencephalation. All right, so you have to be trying to differentiate the two. Okay, polioencephalation is not going to have a fever, but it has opisthotonus, it can have head tilt, it can have blindness, it can even have some muscle tremors. Okay, it's wherever those bacteria localize themselves, joint, lung, CNN. Clin path-wise, and the thrombi, like was before we get to clin path. Thrombi can lodge in the brain stem, spinal cord, synovial membranes, or in the lungs, which is why we have all those different possibilities. One other thing that we get with this that you probably need to underline is we get cardiac abscesses. This differs it from all the other stuff we talked about. So we get cardiac abscesses with Haemophilus somnus. It says on your paper Haemophilus somnus at the top. It is Haemophilus, it's Haemophilus somni now. All right. Things we can do clin path-wise. Okay, you can examine CSF fluid. All right, it's going to be high in protein, high in white blood cells, but it'll also show xanthochromia, which means yellow. All right, so you got yellowing of the CSF fluid. Now, it's common in the feedlot because they develop the infection by inhalation of contaminated respiratory secretions. If you're out in the pasture, you're really not going to pass this on. But in the feedlot with a bunch of animals that are in a congested environment, they come from different farms, different things they've been exposed to, this is one of these things that can run through feedlot very, very rapidly, especially with the respiratory form. Responds to antibiotics. Prevention is going to be vaccination. Animals in a particular group that are showing signs affecting different organ systems would lend you to believe you have Haemophilus somni. Adult cattle can have abortions. You can have some mastitis and metritis associated with it, but that's more in the adults. Like I was saying before, septicemia, meningoencephalitis, pneumonia, myocarditis, arthritis, abortion, all these things can be caused by Haemophilus somni. We're talking about young animals, we're worried about, like I said, pneumonia, joint problems, CNS. When we start talking about adult animals, we get into, like I said, metritis, mastitis, abortion, those type of things, feeding infertility. Typical vaccination type thing. Hypovitaminosis A. I mean, there's really not anything to really explain to that. You guys can read that. That is obviously deficiency in vitamin A. It's a feedlot type problem. If you're munching on nice green grass and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to get hypovitaminosis A. You get plenty of keratin, you get plenty of vitamin A by way of keratin. Okay. It does not happen as commonly as it used to, because now feedlots, they make sure their feed formulation has enough vitamin A in it so that it doesn't happen. It's still a possibility, but it doesn't happen that commonly anymore. But like I said, if they're out in the pasture, this is not a disease that they're going to get. Grazing on poor, dry pasture, feeding exclusively cereal grains, things like that, are what come along with predispose animals to this disease. It's something we have in younger animals. The one clinical sign that pretty much differentiates it from everything else, you see the clinical signs that they have there, pretty much the same ones you have showing neurologic signs, and sarca, which is a generalized swelling or inflammation of tissue. Edema, put it this way, generalized edema. And sarca is one of the hallmark signs of hypovitaminosis A. Now, the one thing that does make this different, not only are they blind, but they have no pupillary light reflexes. So it is not cortical blindness. Okay? They are blind and they have no pupillary light reflexes. Now, first they usually become night blind, and then they become day blind. Once they become day blind, they're pretty much refractory to treatment. Obviously, the treatment is going to be vitamin A, but like I said, by the time you see the clinical signs, a lot of times they're refractory to treatment. If you have adult animals that are pregnant, that have this disease, okay, you can see congenital deformities in the calves, and it causes a narrowing, all right, in all the bony foramina of the skull. So the places where the spinal cord is supposed to go through, and optic nerves and all that kind of stuff, those things get narrowed. Okay. All right. Pseudorabies. Pseudorabies and scopies. Pseudorabies is an encephalitic disease in ruminants, purely ruminants. The big thing to remember about pseudorabies is in pigs, it can be asymptomatic. So in pigs, you can have asymptomatic carriers. In ruminants, it's going to end up being a fatal disease. All right? Or pigs can carry this thing. So, in other words, one of the histories is going to be that you have cattle that are grazing in close proximity to pigs. All right? And this is one of the diseases that's most commonly most commonly tested for in the swine industry, because you can have asymptomatic carriers. All right, so for ruminants to get it, they're somewhere around pigs. Incubation is short, 4 to 7 days. They show neurologic signs. They show intense regional pruritus. Usually die after a couple of days of showing the clinical signs. Okay. Checking CSF fluid. There's one way we check on this. On necropsy, we're going to see alopecia, we're going to see edema, we're going to see hemorrhages around that pruritus. You'll also have a non-suppurative encephalitis, right, caused by a virus, called pseudorabies because of the neurologic syndrome. Very rare in sheep, but we do get it in cattle, and like I said, when ruminants get it, it is fatal. Because it shows neurologic signs that are pretty much consistent with a number of other diseases, history is what's going to make a big difference here. Knowing that these animals have or have not had contact with swine. Now, prevention is going to be vaccination, but vaccination only works for swine. The only way to prevent cattle from getting it is don't have them anywhere near pigs.